joining us today for another episode of What's Your Why Wednesday. Today, I am here with the amazing Felicia Seedorf. She is the Regional Sales Manager at NAN, Nationwide Appraisal Network. Felicia, thank you so much for joining us today. And for the most of us, we fell into the mortgage industry by accident, but we stay in our industry because it's tied to our personal and professional why. So, Felicia, at this time, we would love to hear, what is your why?
Well, Laura, thank you for having me first and foremost. I was completely flattered to be asked. Um, I'm a little unique and different to the industry. I come from the appraisal world, and I too stumbled into this world unbeknownst to me. My way of getting into it was a pivot in life, a quick change. I was relocated to Florida for my husband's career, and I could no longer travel. I was in the fashion industry, and I had a younger child. And two older children in college. So I answered an ad at an appraisal firm, and I went to appraisal school. Can you believe that one?
Wow.
So that was
what year is this? What year was that?
2014.
Okay, got it.
2014. So here I am in Florida, and here's where my why steps in. My why is that I realized that I had to have something to do that was going to relate to my child. But most importantly, I'm a connector. So I realized that I'm not very good at doing an FHA loan. I'm not the person you want me on the ladder to go up into the attic or into the crawl space, because I usually fall. I'm very clumsy. So I realized that I would take that information, take the trainee license, and I would go out and do on the other side of the industry. And I would go into what I feel is what I'm good at is I have a passion to communicate and a passion to connect. And that's what leads me into sales. So I took everything I had learned in school, even in fashion, in insurance, and I applied it to the appraisal world. And my why is the power of connection. It's my passion to connect people. I think you've kind of seen that with what I've done with the MBA New Jersey. If I believe in something and I have a passion for it, I spread the word.
I number one, I love that so much. I love how you accidentally fell into it accidentally, right? But then bottom line, Felicia, I think all of us, we have to lean into where those special skills are, right? And it can be applied to everything, right? Every single thing that we do, we can apply those. And the fact that being a connector, that's one of the most valuable skills that there is that someone can have. Because even if it's not something that you think is directly helping you at this moment, it does, because it ripples to where once you connect a couple of people, those people then talk about you and then comes back to you. So you're actually spread much wider when you connect people. So when did you first realize that you were a connector?
I've had several moves for my husband's career. We lived London, San Francisco, and it was always a pivot of change. And I realized that, the children would go to school and they would have constant contact with, there's 21 children, there's out of 20, you can meet someone. I realized that I needed to be your wife's new best friend. I had to get out there, whether I was in London or San Francisco or back in Westchester, New York, or in Florida. I had to always make an effort, regardless of my career or what I was doing, because I had to have a sense of community. They relocate you and everyone else is at work or school, and here you are doing whatever you have to do. So you have to connect. So I realized that I was always in sales, but I had to parlay that into my private life as well. And that just unfolded for me in Florida and then grew out for me to be up here in the Northeast. And it just was joining organizations and developing the relationships that actually brought me to where I am today at NAN. Meeting people, going to the trade shows, connecting, following up with an email, following up with a text, saying happy Memorial Day, saying, happy holidays. It doesn't cost us anything to connect, and you don't know where that power is. And that's what's lead me to be a nanner today, which, you know, it really is something I'm very proud of that I was able to do. But it's that passion of connection. You know, I go to the trade shows and people like, oh, did you go to the New Jersey NBA? Yes, I did. Oh, I wanted to go. I can't go. Well, you know, you can join by being part of the women's committee. And they're like, what? And what do I
What
do,
women's
Laura?
committee? What is
Right.
that?
And I'm like, this is a committee that you can join on Zoom and you can be part of
Yeah.
it. But again, I don't know who I'm meeting, Laura, where it's going exactly what you said. It's going to bring me to another step,
That's right.
or personally or professionally. Personally, I have the passion to see people with a smile like you have. That something good came out of it. The fact that you're so proud of what you do, and
Yes.
that I am so pleased and proud to be part of it, that I want to tell people about it. That's huge. That's powerful.
It's so powerful, so powerful. And like you said, what does it take? A little bit of time, right? It doesn't cost us anything more than a little bit of time, but that time usually grows into something beautiful by making those connections. So yes, thank you, because you've been so valuable to us, and I'm so happy that we've connected now. Now, my second question, and this is my most favorite question of all. During our careers in the mortgage business, you know, sometimes, especially after you've been in it for a few years, sometimes we almost think, it's kind of the same thing over and over. But we need those reminders. We need those reminders of sometimes we will be involved in a transaction, or we'll be involved in a special situation, or we get an email or a note, or we hear something of how we have positively affected other people. So I'd love to hear from you, Felicia, of sharing a story, whether it's with your team, whether it's with a client. Give us one of those stories where you realize the monumental impact that you have by being part of our industry.
Well, thank you, Laura. My biggest story was when I did come down to Florida, and I was a newbie in the appraisal world, and I met a mom at school, a single mom, and she heard that she thought I was in the mortgage industry, and I was like, no, I'm on the other side. I'm on the appraisal industry. And she's like, I want to buy a house. I don't want my girls living from apartment to apartment, renting constantly. And it was the fact that I was part of the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance, and I was able to connect her to a lender that was able to help her. And it just snowballed from there, that I had asked if I could speak. Oh, I always ask, is it okay if I tell that I was part of this? And her kids say it's the Felicia Network, because it wasn't just the mortgage aspect and the appraisal part of it, but it was the insurance. It was getting an inspection done. It was getting movers, and it just snowballed to that. And it was me just picking up the phone and saying, hey, I've got a great mom here who's single, who's, you know, went through the 2006, 2008, the abomination that occurred. She needs a hand. And people stepped up, and it was like I became like the Saint Felicia of the single moms. Can you help? And I'm like, I don't lend. But our kids call it the Felicia Network now. And I thought that was pretty cool to be known as the Felicia Network. Like, call Felicia, she'll know.
But do you see what a resource and an authority and a trusted advisor? That's what you are. It doesn't matter, like you said, when you talked about the inspector and the movers and all the different pieces, right? I always say, especially to originators in our industry, I always say, you want to be that guy or that girl, right? Whatever it is, right? You want to be, I have a girl, I have a woman that can help with that. I have a guy that can help with that. Regardless of what it is, you are just known as the Felicia Network, because they know that Felicia Network, I've got a trusted person that somehow she's going to know a realtor. She's going to know a lender. She's going to know an inspector. Like, why? Because they trust you, that if you're recommending that person, that's someone that's going to take good care of them. And that is so valuable.
That is true. I've had the same thing happen up north with the realtors. I've held a realtor's license for years up in New York. And what happened was, realtor in my local area that I've always supported contacted me and said, we're going down to Lakewood Ranch. Who do you recommend? Yeah. And it was a Sotheby's agent. And the next thing you know, she calls me back. She's like, oh, I can't believe this. And again, it went out to the lenders. It went out to the inspection. It just evolved from there. But it was clients she was bringing down. to that
See?
territory. And that
Yep.
was just a one-off in January. She's like, I heard you're sitting up here. I heard you were at some show. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, I got to grab a coffee with you. I'm like, I'm in the middle of working. I just, and she was like, I'm going. And I'm like, she called me back. She was like, I can't believe. I was like, it is. It just blankets. It's what you can do to help. It's not done for an ego purpose.
No,
It's done for a
it never
passion.
comes from that. It comes from the heart.
Right. I don't sell, Laura. I don't think I've ever sold anybody anything, down to when I was in fashion, a tunic.
Mhm.
I don't sell. I relationship build. And that's the point. There is no sell. Anybody can sell anyone anything.
Well, honestly, Felicia, no one wants to be sold, right? No
Correct.
one ever wants to be sold. So when you feel like you're being sold, that's when you back off, right? That's when you're like, this
Time
isn't
out.
feeling good. Yeah, this isn't feeling good. So yes,
Totally.
so that's exactly why you've had success with this, because you're not selling. You're building relationship, you're gaining trust, you're working with them in their best interest, and that's the reason why it's successful. Love it. Okay, so we know how you came in. We've heard the story of the impact that you've made. Now we're going to bring it home with, it's very special to me, the word legacy, because, I've been doing this for a very long time, and it's very important to me. One of my missions is to leave this industry better than I found it. And I can honestly say I wholeheartedly feel that way. So I'd love to hear from your perspective, what do you want your legacy or your leave behind when you move on and go sit on a beach or something someday?
I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever sit on the beach, because I think I'll work till the end.
You could still be on the beach. Why are you doing that?
But I would like everyone to know that in the Felicia Network that I touched, that it came from my passion and my heart, and that I left you better, exactly what you say, better than where it started, and only for them to go out and do the same to someone else.
And that's what it's all about, Felicia. It is passing that baton, like passing the baton to those that are behind us. And yes, every generation should make it better, right? We should always be looking to improve, but we have to set the example, right? We're the example that we want them to say, wow, they were pretty amazing, but you know what? We're even going to go beyond them. And I hope that is true. I really, really do. Well, Amen. Felicia, we thank you so much for sharing all of your insights, for taking such great care of our entire community here. And we wish you all the best always.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor, Laura.